Camera speeding.
Camera speeding.
Sound.
Sound speeding. You got it. I don't even have to do it. You're not there recording.
All right.
I know a little bit about film, just a teeny bit.
My name is Logan Furuta, and I play electric guitar. I do associate with one main group called Modern Joey. I'm the primary, it's my primary band, and I share guitar and vocal duties with another musician named Carl.
My name's ALAINA. I play guitar, I sing, I play piano. I'm in a band called Grain Elevator. I do some solo work as well, but that's kind of my main thing right now.
My name is NEIMANN. I am a Milwaukee musician. I'm a singer-songwriter. I play in a band called Diet Light, and I also front my own solo project. We're called Max and the Fellow Travelers.
My name is Evan Seaman. I play pedal steel guitar and fiddle, banjo, mandolin, keys, and guitar in 2 different country and country style bands here in Milwaukee. I play in Grain Elevator. I play primarily in Grain Elevator, and I just this year started playing with Max NEIMANN, the Fellow Travelers.
My name is Max Bird, and I play drums, a little bit of guitar, and a little bit of keyboard. I currently play with a group called Fightin' Bob, named after the progressive governor himself. Self-titled Frog Rock, which is funk and prog mixed together, so it gets a little weird at times, but I think it's really fun.
Well, Linneman started in the summer of 1993. That's when Linneman's opened. A friend of mine, basically, I lived across the street from Linneman's, and a friend of mine came over one day and said, "What's up with that building? It's for sale." I said, "I don't know." And he said, "Why don't you find out about it?" And so I went out, I worked in news at the time, and I knew how to find out things downtown, and I went downtown and found all about it, and he said, "Why don't you put it in an offer? I'll help you buy it, and we can start a bar," you know. And he wasn't interested in the bar part. He wasn't interested in investment in the building. But he wanted me to run the bar. And that's how Linneman started, basically. It's a little more complicated than that, but that's how it started.
My favorite part of the Milwaukee music scene is just like getting to know people, which sounds pretty cheesy, but it's so fun to see how many different types of people there are and how such different kinds of people can all come together and appreciate the same thing. So like, you know, you look at the crowd and like you see who's dancing and these people look totally different, but they all like have the same smile on their face, and I just love that.
So I think one of the strengths and what drew me to it, and just Milwaukee in general, was the just kind of interconnectivity of it, the camaraderie like present in it. Like everyone's really pulling each other up. You know, I think what's the saying? Rising tide lifts all boats. I think that's something that musicians and just the artistic community in Milwaukee, especially in the music realm, really kind of hold true. You know, we do, I think, it's just really collaborative, and that's what kind of drew me to it. Before I moved to Milwaukee, I was living in Chicago. I was spending a lot of time in Madison. I was kind of all over the place, and I reached a point where I needed to kind of condense my life, I guess, and pick where I wanted to kind of settle down, set some roots, and like, you know, give a go at music, I guess. There's a lot of different genres and a lot of different people doing a lot of cool stuff in Milwaukee, but it doesn't feel cliquey ever really. You know, the punks hang out with the country kids who hang out with the emo kids, you know, like we all build together, we all hang out together. So that's just really cool, and even as things develop and progress, and you know, some of the bands that I play with and like the other bands that we know, we start, you know, play bigger rooms and, you know, gain bigger crowds. Like there's still this like synergy.
In the Milwaukee scene, I love the people in it. I love the DIY scene, but I love the DIY nature of it. I love how a lot of these events are just put together by the people playing them. A lot of the art and the posters and stuff like that are put together by the people playing the shows. It's just a very like informal and down-to-earth scene, and I think that's really, really, really great.
I really enjoy the Milwaukee music scene because there's so much you can find. Just, I mean, you can go to a hardcore show one night and you can find a folk band the next night and go see some jazz. I mean, there's everything here, and it's a very tight-knit community, so everyone kind of knows everybody a little bit, and yeah, it's just I enjoyed that it's very cohesive and not too big to the point where you got, crazy egos and this and that. But yeah, I think it's a great community. I would say the challenges of going into music as a career in general, and I guess specifically in Milwaukee, is just getting yourself out there from the jump. That's always the hardest part I've found. With most of the bands I'm in, the first few shows, it's really just like a coin toss to see if people will like you or not, and then from there, once you figure something like that out, then you have a better idea of like an image you want to put out, and you use social media to get a lot of this across.
I enjoy a lot about the Milwaukee music scene. A lot of it's really supportive. Maybe it's the Midwest and everybody, but it seems like the scene generally is really, really supportive, pretty diverse, a lot of cool people, a lot of supportive venue owners that give a lot of chances to people who are starting out, which is really good.
I remember this one person telling me that they were afraid to go out, and during the pandemic, and they were watching this well-known Milwaukee musician play here, and it was at the point where they started allowing, you could have 25% people back in the room, which 25% of the capacity, and so we had this one musician playing, and this one girl on the internet made a comment about how she can feel the happiness in the room, and that's the difference right there. She's at home watching by herself on the thing, enjoying the music. She said, sounds great, but she goes, I can feel the happiness in that room. That happiness you'll never replace on the internet.
So my name is EMMITT James. I'm a hip-hop jazz artist here. I do a few different genres, but I like to, when people ask, quick answer, hip-hop jazz. I am a part of House of Renji. It's an independent hip-hop label here in Milwaukee, and I'm also part of a collective called Good Riddance. Here's my new rule, what I do. If I spent money on it, I'm trying to figure out how to make the money back. I don't always make it back. So when I first started making music, I spent money on recording, shooting music videos, and I never thought about like making the money back. It was just about, this is what I have to do because I'm a musician. And now what I like to do is, if I shoot a music video, let's say it costs me $750. I might not make the $750 back, but I want to make something back from it. So before I just throw the music video out on YouTube, maybe I might say, hey, if you want to see the video a month early, you can see it early for $5, or you can see it early for $10. And if 20 people do that, then I made $150 to $200. Is it my $750 back? Not necessarily, but I made something back on it. So now that's what I like to do. If I spent money on it, I'm spending money to promote it and then trying to figure out a way to make money back by holding things behind paywalls or bundling it with merch. So with the music video, I might say, hey, you can see it early for $5, but then I might make a t-shirt and say for $30, you get this t-shirt and you get to see it early. So like if I paid someone to do 3D animation for me and it cost $500, which I've done before. 3D animation is very expensive. I probably won't make money back on that, but what I will do is recycle that content. I'm not just gonna use it once. I'm gonna use it for Spotify Canvas. I'm gonna make a version of it that is not just specific to the thing I'm promoting now, that I can recycle later and then get more uses out of it. So now I don't just feel like I spent $500 on one thing, but I spent $500 on 7 different things.
So my band financially, we're pretty new. We haven't had much take-home pay personally. Most of our money we get right now comes from our merch that we sell. So there's a saying that if you're gonna be a musician, you're actually a traveling t-shirt salesman, because that's typically where most of your funds come from, at least when you're starting out. But we don't have any take-home pay yet. We put everything into a group fund, and from that fund, that's how we pay people like photographers, and that's how we pay for recording time at a studio, or if we need to get more merch, if we need to order some shirts, that's where we get that money from. So we're just kind of starting off, but hopefully soon we'll see a few more bucks in the pocket.
My name is FERN. I'm in a couple different projects currently. My solo project is listed as Only Ferns, and then I play in the band I Hate It Here, as well as the band Hiking Journal. For I Hate It Here, I mostly play guitar, do some backing vocals. We're like a sasscore dance music band. Hiking Journal is a experimental duo. We kind of just play any acoustic instruments we want and experiment with a lot of sampling for that band. I would say the best way for like networking and meeting people in the music scene would be, I'll just like say the one thing 3 times. Go to shows, go to shows, go to shows.
Go to shows.
Go to shows. Just go to shows.
Going to shows.
Go to shows.
I would highly suggest to anyone to go out and watch shows and go and talk to the people playing and meet them if you're interested in playing, or if you just want to have friends and get out there and have a good experience.
I used to go to a lot of jams back in high school, and there you just meet people that happen to be playing with you that night. And if you like playing with them, you like playing with them, so you want to play with them again. And eventually you might join a band, you might have them accompany you on something, just a project or two. And I love that specifically about Milwaukee because you'll meet the same people at the jams, like week in, week out, and it allows for that more tight-knit community, which I really enjoy.
Find a band you like, or you meet some new people, you get to talking to them, conversing with them. It's just the best way to get to know people. The second best way, I would say, is social media. If you want to go to a new city, visit or live, let's say you want to go to New York and you had a trip planned before you got there, you could spend 2 weeks before commenting on people's stuff from New York, DMing them, hey, I like your style, or hey, I saw you were playing this show, like what side of New York this is in. And then 2 weeks later, you've built this relationship with this person. Hey, I'm going to be here in 2 weeks. I'm actually going to be here on this day. Are you down to meet up to get some coffee or hang out or blah, blah, blah. But going to shows, number 1. 2, building a relationship with people online that leads up to the physical, or meet them in person and then continue that relationship online.
I think Instagram right now is a really good go-to spot for social media, at least in the Milwaukee scene. I know some people also use Facebook. I think it really depends on the audience you're trying to reach. If you have an older audience, you are probably going to use Facebook a little bit more. If you have a younger audience, you'll probably use Instagram. I know some people use TikTok as well, but short-form video, like Reels, TikToks, those really work for capturing people's attention and showing your product in small pieces. So music isn't necessarily something that a picture can always explain or show to people. So we like to post to social media once a week at minimum, but depending on your brand and what you have going on, you will probably have more content to post. So multiple times a week is ideal, but it can be hard.
I would say my preferred social media for like promoting music or interacting with any of that is Instagram. It's kind of led to a lot of just like random connections of like landing shows, as well as like having people come out to our shows that like saw something on social media once and are now like, there with 4 friends for a band that doesn't even have music recorded yet. And stuff like that's kind of mind-blowing, where like it doesn't make any sense, but it's somehow an effective tool at advertising.
I prefer Instagram in terms of social media for doing music stuff. And it's great too, because it seems like a lot of people use Instagram, and Instagram has kind of become like my app for dealing with music stuff. Even when I take music lessons and stuff like that, I will use Instagram. A lot of the networking and arranging shows and stuff like that our band has done has all been over Instagram. It's just a convenient platform for everyone.
At this point, probably goes without saying that you need to have a social media presence to expand your audience as an artist. I do think there's different ways to go about it for different artists. For example, Diet Light are, that's become kind of a hallmark of our brand, I guess, so to speak, is our social media, just kind of presence. And from our standpoint, in general, if you're trying to promote anything, whether it's a song, a show, if you don't tell people about it, they're not going to find out about it. And the more you tell them about it, the more likely they are to find it, the more likely they are to engage with it and go to that thing.
Advice for younger performers that are trying to get into this industry. You have to play. You have to be on a stage. People have to see you actually perform your stuff, because then the networking comes, the money sometimes can come if you play a really good show. Getting money for doing art is like the greatest thing ever. You just do what you love and people just give you money for it. So there's that. So you just have to do it. Open mics, ask a friend who's already there, maybe if you can open for them, do 30 minutes. Because once you get the first thing out of the way, once you have a first real performance, people have seen you, you've already started networking because you've performed with other people. So you just have to find a way to get yourself on a stage in front of people.
I learned how to play by strumming along with the song and buying the book that, buying the sheet music or whatever I had to do. And that's how people start out. It's not, you don't just get good in music. It takes lots of practice. If you're going to be a pro, it really takes a lot of practice,
My advice for people wanting to get into this and start doing it is to I guess the big thing is to bite the bullet and do it. I've talked to so many people who are like, I'm so interested in starting a band. I love to sing or I love to do this and that. And the only real solid advice I could give those people is you need to do it. You need to just pick up the guitar and go to work on it and get something started. But meeting people is super important. You're not going to do a band by just yourself unless you're really good with a laptop. So meeting a lot of people, and the more people you meet, the more like-minded people you're going to meet too. And I would heavily suggest, once you develop a musical community of people, some musician friends, to start jamming with them. It's a really great way to bond, and it's the easiest, best way to practice. It's essentially practice, but fun. You're not just playing your scales in your room.
People are going to tell you, I don't know, how to do things, and people from institutions and this and that, and people tell you how it was the old ways and how this, and it's just, with art, there's never one way. So just do what you do and just own what you do, because that will get you farther than, I don't know, being perfectly correct in every way and every facet of music.
I think you need to take everything everyone says to you with a grain of salt. So I've noticed a lot of younger performers that just kind of show up and expect people to present them with opportunities instead of trying to find them themselves. And that's very uncomfortable. Finding things for yourself sometimes makes you feel stupid, sometimes makes you look stupid. It's embarrassing sometimes to not know what you're doing and to say oh, I'm going into this blindly, but it's kind of what you have to do in order to figure out what you're doing.
I would say get good at your instrument and learn how to work well with others. And go to shows, meet people. Even if you're really bad at your instrument, if you show up confidently and do the thing, you're better than the person who didn't pick up the instrument.
My advice for aspiring artists or young artists would be to put your 10,000 hours in, get really good at your craft, perfect it, or just get really good at it to the point where you know you're good and you know that you should be paid, and then take it from there. If you're serious about it, perfect and work at your craft.
It's a really exciting time, I think, to be a local musician and just to be a musician on any sort of scale. I do think there's and maybe this is just my own bias, but I do think there's a movement across the country towards local music and towards just local things. I think part of that comes from maybe social media's, hyper segmentation of everything that we're consuming now, it almost kind of makes sense that, you know, as we kind of are consuming less and less mass media, that the media that's available to us locally is more and more attractive. And I do think that's maybe one of the, you know, you can talk all day about the pros versus cons of how kind of hyper fixated all of our content is and all of our media is at this point. I do think that's one of the more beneficial, I guess, outcomes of where this is all taking us now, is that people are paying attention to local music, they're paying attention to the arts that's happening in their community more than I've ever experienced in my lifetime. Maybe I'm just growing into it, but I don't know. It's exciting. I'm excited to be here.
Sorry, I'm not good in front of the camera. Can we like cut that?